Welcome to Ask Ms. ERP. The topic of this video is what service tier is an ERP. Hello everyone, Ms. ERP here. This topic began as a discussion about business continuity, which I have mentioned in a number of videos but never really fully explained. As I got into the topic, I realized that perhaps an explanation on service tiering would be useful, as this helps to define where exactly you do need business continuity plans. First, what do I mean by a service? As we were talking about ERPs, I mean a technology-based service, which is a means of delivering value to one or more customers to obtain desired business outcomes. This service consists of people, processes, and technology, and should support the customer's business processes. Ideally, there are performance metrics that can be used to measure the quality of the service. Lots more on measures in videos number 31 and 32, if interested. The next concept is the idea of classifying these IT services into tiers that reflect the criticality of a service for the business. Based on that criticality, each tier can be assigned different service performance levels. The benefits of tiering IT services are to ensure efficient allocation of resources to deliver optimal service value and to align to agreed-upon service expectations. Tiering should also help with general awareness of, and possibly a reduction in, service operations, complexity, and costs. So, how can you determine the tier of an IT service, ERP or otherwise? It should be based on the value the IT service delivers by supporting business functions, processes, and activities, and the impact of a possible IT service failure on the business. You can assign a numeric value to these, and it will make figuring out what tier of service an ERP should reside in a lot easier. I will work through an example with you. How important the IT service is to the business is the value level. I have found that breaking your services into 4 criticality levels works well. At the top, with an assignment of 1, is mission-critical services. These enable your primary business processes such as equipment monitoring, possibly sales or logistics if you need to get orders out. Next is number 2, business-critical processes. These services enable business support processes such as asset maintenance or capital project management. Then there are number 3, business operational services, which enable enterprise support processes, such as legal, finance, IT, HR, and payroll. And lastly, number 4, which I will call administrative services, that enables personal productivity, such as communication, building, and security management, and desktop support. The next question to ask is about the impact of a service failure. How will it affect the business? Similarly to the value, you can assign the impact into 4 groups. 1 being catastrophic, 2 being major, 3 being moderate, and 4 being minor or insignificant. You can determine the impact by looking at 3 factors. Assign a number to these impact factors and then average them out to get the overall impact rating. The first factor to look at is the business function itself. If the loss of the service severely impedes one or more primary business processes, resulting in a significant production loss, then I would assign that a 1. A 2 would impede business support processes that may lead to some production loss. A 3 impedes enterprise support processes, and a 4 impedes work productivity at an individual or small group level. Another factor to the impact of a loss of service is external visibility. If the loss of the service causes widespread public visibility or negative brand exposure, such as a major safety incident, then this would be a 1. A 2 would be a situation that causes widespread external visibility with partners. A 3 causes limited external visibility with partners, and a 4 causes little or no external visibility of any kind. You should also consider the number of users that could be impacted with a loss of service. A large number of users would be a 1, a high number of users would be a 2, a medium amount of users a 3, and a low number of users could be a 4. Depending on the size of your company, you can decide on what large, high, medium, and low mean for you. If you have 200 staff, then that would be a large number for you. If you have 200,000 staff, then 200 is likely a low number. Once you have a value score and a criticality score, you can average them to decide what service tier to assign to a specific service, such as an ERP. For example, from 1 to 1.99 could be Tier 1, 2 to 2.99, Tier 2, and so on. Again, I have found 4 is a good number to work with. The example that I am showing you worked out neatly to Tier 2, but hopefully shows how you can do this yourself. So what does being in a specific tier actually mean? This is where you need to work with your business to figure out what is reasonable for each tier. Obviously, the Tier 1 services should have higher levels of service than the Tier 4 services. You can define these as service offerings and should include things like expectations for response and resolution times, targets for availability and reliability, and possibly a measure or 2 based on key transaction performance. Release management is another offering. How often will you update the service? Is it important to stay code current? How will you support the service? A Tier 1 service likely should have more internal support than a Tier 4 service. Should the service have a disaster recovery plan? How often should it be tested? Which brings us back to business continuity. If you have a Tier 1 service, it is likely that it should have a disaster recovery plan, but also the business should work on their own business continuity plans. This is spending the time documenting what to do if the IT service does fail and the recovery plan does not work. Then what? Will the business have to resort to paper and telephone calls? What if there is no telephone? In today's world, we expect technology to always be there, and that might not be the case. I realize that this situation is unlikely, but as a believer in Murphy's Law, if you don't have a plan, then you're going to need it. If you do have a plan, with any luck, it will never be needed. I went through this quite quickly and made it sound easy, which in all honesty, it is not. It will be an iterative process to define what each tier offers, and then to determine what service criticality you should assign to each service by looking at value and impact, which should put a service into a specific tier. Then you need to do the most important step, which is to confirm the service tier with the customer, which for this discussion are your ERP stakeholders. These stakeholders may not all agree on what tier the ERP should be in, nor what the service offerings should be, so it could take some time to work through this. It may help to call the tiers something other than 1 through 4. You could call them platinum, gold, silver, bronze, or precious gems, or playing cards, or whatever works for your company. I have not yet answered the question of what service tier an ERP is in. As with many ERP questions, the answer is, it depends. If you do have mission-critical business processes in your ERP that would be catastrophic to lose, then it would be a Tier 1. If you just have financials, which causes limited impact, it could be a Tier 2 or 3. I think it is unlikely that it would be a Tier 4, but if you follow the described process, you will be able to decide for yourself. A big benefit of doing this work is that your ERP and other service customers will have a much better understanding of what their expectations for service delivery should be. This concludes the What Service Tier is an ERP topic. There is a link on askmizerp.com to email me to ask questions or suggest topics for future videos. Or you can just add comments on any YouTube video. Please subscribe to my channel. Thanks, and see you on the next video.